I'm gonna start off firstly by refuting my opponent's claims that they just made that the Syrian rebels, if they gain control of these weapons, it would automatically distribute to government terrorists such as Al Qaeda and those. Firstly, the U.S. has reiterated to the Syrian government to not to distribute chemical weapons to others, and from the CBC News says that people say that they're afraid if the regime falls to terrorists and if they gain control of the weapons, that they'll distribute them and it'll end up harming us in the long run. But Pentagon spokesman George Little states that the use of such weapons will be entirely unacceptable, and that we reiterate the strongest possible terms that the obligation of the Syrian regime is to safeguard its chemical weapons stockpiles and to not transfer these weapons throughout to terrorist groups like Hezbollah and Al Qaeda. And also, I'm gonna refute their second claim that they claim that such situations like Afghanistan that they pointed out earlier and other situations could happen if the U.S. does send military force and things like that there. Firstly, with the United States has already been in this situation and has come out successful plenty of times. And the perfect example of this is what happened in Bosnia. And Angel Rabasa of the U.S. News and World Report states that what is required in Syria now is like the program established in the mid-1990s of Bosnia to train and equip the armed forces of the Bosnian Federation, which is my second point, that the Syrian forces need to establish that the U.S. aid would train and organize these Syrian forces. And it's later on says that Iran had been a major provider of arms to the Bosnian Muslims since the beginning of the war, trying to influence them towards terrorist regimes and things like that, the government. But one of the goals of the group that was called the Bosnia Train and Equip Program was to eradicate all Iranian and foreign radical influences from Bosnia. Basically, the leverage gave the United States with the Bosnian government to work together and coincide, which made it possible to succeed with this Bosnian government. And also, it states that the same article states that the U.S. government's Bosnia Train and Equip Task Force successfully administered the program in Bosnia with fewer than a dozen members going there, aside from the trainers. And it listed cooperation from more than a dozen countries to support their cause for going in and invading them to stop the upholdings that occurred there. And the Bosnian experience basically provides a roadmap that could help avoid the worst case scenarios that the Syrian forces are trying to establish. And I'm also going to state that my second point of that refutation is that the United States already sent aid to neighboring countries to monitor the situation. And Barbara Starr from the CNN Cable News Network states that the deployment creates additional capacity beyond what was there, and it will give the United States the ability to potentially form a joint task force if needed, basically stating that as they deploy to there, then other forces would not be able to intercept these weapons or things like that, because U.S. forces will be along and in that place guiding the distribution of the weapons to where they go and things like that. And I'm just going to state something else, the opposition point. The anti-regime, basically from the Syria profile, BBC News, states that the demonstrations, as they heated up in the summer, members of Assad's own army started to analyze the situation and realize that they're on the wrong side of the force and the Assad government is imposing the wrong message to the people, and they started to join the protesters' side. And these armies that have been formed are now known as the Free Syrian Army, and they have been recognized by the U.S. as a strong leader in the group to support the Syrian rebel overthrow, and that thousands of defections and volunteer signups have propelled the growth over the past year to what it is now. I can't see the time.
10 seconds.
Right there. 10 seconds left. Okay, I'm just going to end there.
He's also got the time in the back.
Yeah.